What's up, guys? Welcome to this video. We're going to take a look at these are M9 bayonets. I've been winning a few of these on auctions on eBay, and I just want to show you what I'm doing to them. Let's see. This one here is a Gen 3, and I am putting new factory secondary cutting edges on here, and I want to do it professionally, as close as possible to the original. So when we go over these, when I look to buy these, I try to make sure that the secondary cutting edge is, not damaged in any way, so that I can, resharpen them and won't have any problems. This one I did, it came out real nice, and once you get the secondary cutting edge put on there, we just need to make sure that it's centered up, and you do that by just touching with your thumb and just lightly pulling this way. I have some videos, some of my early videos, there's some knife sharpening on there. I discuss in detail what I'm doing here, but this is I'm just inspecting, and so it's all centered up, and we get a nice razor sharp edge there. So whenever we go to resharpen them, I don't want to get too aggressive. I want to try to follow the 20 degree, because these come with 20 degree. So if you just follow that, and I've done this so much on my sharpener now that I know exactly where I need to be for 20 degrees. And then some of my knives I'll sharpen them at either 10 degrees or 15 degrees, the ones I make by hand. So this one, I put a new secondary cutting edge on it. This is a vintage one as well. This is a buck. When it didn't have anything to do with Phrobis, they parted ways. See, it's got the buck logo, the buck logo. And this one is a black blade, the black oxide. And this one is one that, since it's got the black oxide and it's still got a nice keen edge on it, I've just kept it centered up, the original. It's fine, I don't need to mess with it. So the point I'm trying to make is, if it's not necessary, I don't mess with the original edges. It's only if we got a really dull edge, I've got a little bit of, they're rough, they're not functioning, that's when I'll intervene and just put a new secondary cutting edge over the 20 degree one that it came with. And it usually only takes me 2 passes on each side. So we're going to do this one here. This is a real nice Gen 4 that I got recently, just in mint condition. But if we look at the secondary cutting edge, of course you got your retention mark there. You always get these on these bayonets, but this one is a candidate for the secondary cutting edge. You can still see the original. So when I get finished with it, I'm doing almost the exact same process that they would do when you buy these new. The guy that puts this edge on, that's what I'm doing. And I've worked real hard on going and watching this done at different companies. I got a lot of information and details from K-Bar Knife Company, which I'm very appreciative of the videos that they put out. But so we're just going to go over this 20 degree secondary cutting edge. I'm going to do that now. I'll let you guys watch on this one and check it out. So we're going to do that on this next section. Right, we got a new 220 grit belt put on here, and this is your typical 2-inch by 72-inch sander grinder. We have a 10-inch wheel, and the secret to my success, I feel like, when it comes to even the primary grinds and doing these secondary cutting edges, is I have a 1/2 horsepower motor. That's a 1/2 horsepower. These generally come with like 1 horsepower up to 2 horsepower, and you're looking at 3,400 RPMs. This has around, I think it's 17 or 1800 RPMs. It's just lower speed and it's less power, and it really works just really well for what I do. So I do 90% of my primary grinds on my handheld grinder in there, and then when I come out here and I go to do those primaries, I just spend like probably 15 or 20 minutes on this, working both sides, and finishes up those primary grinds. And then we go down to of course I use a 40 grit and a 60 grit. And then the last passes we're going to use a 400 grit and then a 800 grit. So you have to really keep your blade cool once you get down there on these hollow grinds, because when you start going finer grit, your blade starts heating up really quick. So, and I also use this for our secondary cutting edges. So let me go ahead and show you this, and we'll explain. So when I do a knife on the secondary cutting edges, I used to hold the blade like this. I don't do that anymore because you just risk getting a kickback, and it's dangerous. So I started doing them this way, and also found out doing them this way, I'm able to control perfectly the angle of attack that I want. And in this case, we want 20 degrees because we want to go back over exactly 20 degrees, okay? And that is going, if I hold this thing just straight up 90 degree from the table, we're looking at around a 15 degree secondary cutting edge. But if I taper it just slightly this way, angle it just slightly back towards me, it puts us roughly at a 20 degree angle. And that's exactly what we want. So we're going to make two passes each side, and come do this side, and we're going to go right back over that 20 degree secondary edge. You're going to see it's going to look just like factory new, and then we can just touch it up on a diamond stone or a ceramic rod stone. And this belt grit size just works perfect because it cuts, it gets what you need, but it's not so, you know, if you go up to like 400 grit, 600 grit, 800 grit, you get in those higher grits, you can really damage the tempering on that secondary cutting edge, okay? Because again, the finer grit you go creates heat, so we don't want that. 220 I found is just perfect, especially with this 1/2 horsepower motor. So let's go ahead and get into this. Let me get this done real quick. How perfect that is. Gorgeous. 2 passes. Let's do this side. Perfect. Isn't that nice? Razor, I mean, it feels a razor blade on each side, but we're going to center it up with a nice super 1000 grit ceramic rod stone or diamond stone. We're going to center that up just a few passes by hand, just lightly touching. That's going to center it up, hone it back up, and it really creates that tip back nice. I mean, look at that. And that's just 2 passes each side, and we're back to a nice brand new factory secondary cutting edge. And once I get that centered up, it's just going to, slice paper is going to be razor sharp. Right, guys, if you enjoyed this content and you would like to see some more of this kind of videos at Snow Tac-Knives, be sure to subscribe, like. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you on the next one.